Hello and welcome everyone to the MTG Paper Legacy Discord's April League playoffs in the quarterfinals. I am Pres BOTW, joined here by Oliver V. How's it going today?
Hey there, everyone. It's a fantastic day where I am. I'm excited we get to sit here and watch a game of Legacy right now, Prez.
Oh yeah, no, this is going to be good for sure. So this is a Delver mirror, specifically blue-red Delver versus actual Rug Delver.
So this is
So
actually incredibly exciting to watch, honestly. So I got to play Milkman in pool play. Milkman crushed me and unfortunately beat me out to get here today. But he's running Blue Red Delver, which is kind of his go-to deck, and really proved himself to be rather proficient with it. He went ahead and he took down Haircuts on Death and Taxes in the round of 16 to get here for this match today. And on the other side, we have Champagne, who's actually we have a minor storyline going on here as well. That Champagne is right now fourth seed in our invitational race. If Champagne, from this moment right here, can win the quarterfinals match against Milkman, can beat his semifinals match opponent, and then take down the finals, Champagne is going to secure the third seed, surpassing Evil, who's also been in the invitational race and is also in this final bracket. So we got this fun little minor storyline going on right now that if Champagne can just win out, Champagne's going to get a better seat for the invitational.
yeah, no, that's definitely a good one here. So Champagne definitely wants to win this match for sure in order to try and get a better seating in for the invitational. So But I think one of the big things, though, about specifically Blue Red Delver over Rug Delver is Blue Red Delver gets to play a lot of burn. A lot of burn.
At the same time, a lot of basics too, which is going to be
Hmm.
really, really important. We're in this wasteland matchup, right? Where the person who's on the play has the natural ability, the majority of the time, to leverage their wastelands more optimally. But Milkman is going to be able to fetch in a sequence that is not going to be exposing himself to the same degree. Of note, going into this, Milkman was the 14th seed of all 16 players making it to the final bracket, while Champagne was the 11th seed. So Champagne actually is going to get the choice of whether or not he is on the play or the draw. We don't actually know for sure, but I'm willing to bet a couple of dollars that Champagne chose to be on the play here.
Yep. And it also looks like Champagne's taking a mulligan down to five.
That is not the place to be for sure. So here's my real question: if we're just looking at these lists, Champagne is playing a Teamer Delver list. Lately, we've been seeing this thing where people are kind of playing Blue Red Delver with a splash of a single trop for like a Clothis and the board, right?
Hmm.
So like a minor splash for green. But Champagne is really playing good old fashioned Rug Delver. We aren't seeing any Hooting Mandrills or anything like that. The Delve threat is the Ethereal Forager, but we are seeing four Tarmogoyfs in the list. Looking at these lists, a really standard blue red and this rug version with Tarmogoyf, who do you think is favored in this matchup?
I think if Champagne is able to stick a Tarmogoyf and have it resolve, I think the Tarmogoyf will eventually get to the point where it's bigger than anything Milkman can deal with.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. The other thing of note that is kind of the strange or the lopsided part of this matchup is Milkman on the blue red version actually has access to two true name nemesises that Champagne does not have access to. So that's
Yeah.
going to be Milkman's way to go long and be able to grind into the late game as well.
Yeah, and the access to TNN I think is going to be very good at making sure that the game, or I should rephrase that. It's fulfilling the same role as the Tarmogoyf is, where it is the unanswerable threat that either player is going to need in order to get forward here. And Champagne off to a fast start here with a Volcanic Island into a Delver immediately.
Yeah, really unfortunate to only have these 3 cards to back up at this point with this Mult of 5. But
Hmm.
I guess this is the way that you have to go when you are already on the play. Um, and we're we're kind of expecting a little bit of a resource exchange here. We're expecting both players to be going through at least what 7, 10 cards actively showing it to us.
Yeah.
Um, so we are Champagne's definitely in an unfortunate situation where he's just not going to have anywhere near the same amount of resources as Milkman. But we're seeing an early bolt on Milkman's Delver.
Yeah. Of note here. Oh, actually, I didn't notice that in that Champagne's Rug Delver list is actually playing two copies of Forked Bolt.
Yeah, and interestingly, the fork bolts are way better or way easier to convert positively in Champagne's list than they are in Milkman's, where Milkman has a lot more targets, right? Or a lot more one toughness targets. Where Champagne, the only real cards that can be blown out hard by the fork bolts are the two Brazen Borrowers and the Delver of Secrets before they flip, right?
Hmm. That being said, though, the versatility of Forked Bolt I think cannot be understated here.
Oh, it's an amazing card. It's been really fast. It's been really great to see it back in the metagame. It's bad for me as an infect player, right? Like I would love for those
Yeah.
to be chain lightning again, but they just have so much play. It's really fantastic. the spicy thing of note here also that I would love to talk about is Champagne's running the one of Bone Crusher Giant for the stomp. Also, it's a play around True Name Nemesis, right? You get to stomp their face. You can and I suppose you have to what attack in first, have it so Milkman blocks, and then you can stomp so the damage still actually happens, which is a cool little tech that we might be able to see. But
Yep.
I've just been loving this card in the Delver builds. It's really great for going long, right? Where you have this other piece of interaction that also just represents a big body.
Yeah. Of note here, this is now 2 turns in a row where this Delver has not flipped.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens with these blind flips at times. And this wasteland, while this would be in theory a great point where Champagne was on the play, is has the advantage in terms of mana. This would be a great point to be firing off the wasteland if it was able. Um, but the
Oh,
unfortunate, oh, is this a stifle coming in?
this is a crack in response.
I wonder if we're
Uh-oh.
going to see a stifle out of Milkman here. Both players with 3 stifles in their list,
I like that. Yeah, we are
and
going to
here we
see a
go.
stifle. And a
So,
daze.
oh,
Oh no. Of note as well, fetching up the volcanic island, functionally turning on this wasteland.
yeah, it is interesting now at this point. So there is still a fetch ability on the stack. Champagne has another land coming in if this daze does resolve.
Yep. 2 cards in hand still.
Forcing back, we are choosing to fight over this.
Pitching days. Interesting. Well, I suppose pitching days makes sense with the wasteland open.
Yeah, it depends on what else is in. So it looks like the stifle resolves.
Resolved. Yeah.
Champagne is choosing to, or not quite yet. Oh, what is going on here? I'm slightly
I think what
confused.
happened is that Milkman is just finishing shuffling the deck now.
Oh, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
After the fetch and playing out the stifle.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if Champagne is going to attempt to convert this wasteland or is going to
Yeah.
want to hold on to it. Yeah, we're
Of
just going to
note
go ahead
as
and fire it
well,
off.
Champagne cannot play that volcanic island because Champagne did play the wasteland this turn
Oh,
already.
that's very true. That's very
Yeah.
true.
I believe he was just gonna play it down post after the stifle resolved, but then reminded that the wasteland already came down this turn.
Now we'll have
Being
to
able to
see.
convert that wasteland though is good because that again against the blue red Delver deck, their mana base is usually a lot more resilient.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting in that Champagne does have some higher CMC plays, right? Where hopefully we aren't going to get to a point where he's stymied and unable to, say, cast out a Brazen Borrower later on, right?
Hmm.
Or is not in need of that mana. The days setting him back a little bit, and along with the stifle, makes it so that Wasteland doesn't look quite as good as it did initially as he first played it, right? When he has 3 other lands in play.
Yeah,
We'll have to see the way that this works out. This
and
and
also we
still this
did just
Delver not flipping.
no, and we actually did get to see a little bit of what Champagne looked at there. Champagne just drew one of these storybook art Bone Crusher Giants. Looks like there's a Misty Rainforest off the top.
Of course, while Bonecrusher Giant can be used as a spell, Delver does not see it as a spell when it is
No.
on top of the library.
Oh, are we
Is
getting
another
another?
okay?
Oh, okay. This is a brainstorm.
Digging for those other 2 stifles.
Yeah, I'd still be very worried if I was Champagne here.
Milkman really not producing another threat.
No.
Milkman's gone pretty deep in the deck at this point, but does appear to be stymied on red mana. Wasting that volcanic turned out to be quite good.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too is that in Champagne's case, like, yeah, there's a lot that's going on in order to stifle his development, but at the same time, you know, there's no pressure.
Yeah, I mean, this Delver's beating in, it turns out.
Yeah.
The human
Milkman's already
wizard
at
is just as
14.
good as the insect human, right?
Yeah. The Delver's dealt over 3 damage. Here's the Tarmogoyf. Okay.
Days pick up
Days.
floating in blue, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Probably just returned the one that was tapped for Brainstorm.
Oh, wait, that's very true. I apologize. For some reason, I thought that was still intact.
No. And that's another thing too is Milkman needs to convert that days now because this Tarmogoyf will be almost impossible to remove outside of Brazen Borrower once it lands.
Well, yeah, I suppose it has just about everything in
Yeah.
there at this point, doesn't it?
And you can actually see Milkman targeting specifically the tropical island, i.e., the green source, over the red source here.
I can respect that. One thing we haven't mentioned, of course, is that these players going into it, they actually had open deck lists. So both
Yes.
players are able to study each other's deck lists, know exactly what the threats are, what the cards are you have to play around, right? So Champagne is aware of the 2 true name nemesises, for example.
Yeah.
Um, They cannot actually consult it during gameplay itself, but once we get into the sideboard, in between games, they'll be able to consult it again.
Hmm. This Delver's still just not flipping.
This is the world's worst Delver right now. It really
Oh yeah.
it is just has it dealt 5 damage now at this point, though?
Yes, it has
Yeah,
dealt
that's
5 damage.
amazing. That's so great.
Yeah, we've had one fetch land, one force of will, and 5 Delver hits.
Fantastic. And we do know kind of just from the tip of the hand
There we
that happened.
go. Flip the Delver.
Gorgeous. We have a Days in
Revealing
Hand. We
days.
also have the Stomp slash Bone Crusher Giant, right, from, seeing the tip earlier.
Yeah. So gaining that information
Oh.
before the days goes to hand. Petty theft. Back to hand.
And we just
Recast.
replay it out. Let's do this.
And
So
pass.
now that we know about that Daze, that Brazen Borrower is not gonna be able to actually come in and start clocking for a little bit.
Yeah.
Suppose if Milkman can make another play to draw out the Daze, we'll be able to get it, but hopefully
Yep.
Milkman can draw a little bit. We're just
Not
seeing a
able to
play
flip
fetch land
again.
pass. Nope, it is not.
No.
These
That
it
being
is
said, if that card is what I thought it looked like, which was a Tarmogoyf, I'm pretty sure Champagne's okay with that.
very true. I suppose that almost is better than the Delver flipping, right?
Yeah.
Of note, right now the Brazen Borrower cannot block the Delver. If it turns into the insect, all of a sudden it can. But right
Yes.
now, this is an unblockable 1/1 functionally.
Yeah. Of note, the Brazen Borrower will not be able to block the Tarmogoyf either.
Yeah, of course not. I'll be totally honest. I keep talking about this. Half the time I forget Brazen Borrower can block because I just don't play any deck with flying.
Oh. Oh.
And we're going for the
We're gonna
stomp on it.
stomp.
Holding on to the days here. And that
Yeah.
card is off on an adventure. Major pops of champagne. Actually having the adventure token makes it so much easier to track which cards are actually castable again.
Yeah. Well, it's good in a sense too, because then it's kind of what's in exile, what is in adventure, right? So, true name Nemesis. Uh oh. And we also have the land to pay for it.
Yeah, that's hard. So now the race is actually on. The Delver, of course, does not flip again. We've utilized the stomp where
Tarmogoyf.
nice. Where in theory, if we hadn't spent it on the Brazen Borrower and you attack in, force the block out of Milkman, or at least bluff him too, and then
Yeah.
you can just stomp and trade for the true name with your Delver. But
Yeah. That being said, though, this Bone Crusher Giant being a 4/3 is also big game.
that is very true. I mean, it does not attack into True Name Nemesis as well if
No.
Milkman is choosing to swing in. However, it does allow you to be it allows you to pressure as well, right? Where
Hmm.
it's going to it very is very likely that along with the Goyf and the Delver are going to force it so Milkman isn't actually able to attack in with the True Name Nemesis to start racing.
Hmm.
Of course, the other sad thing is it trades with a bolt, right? Trades with bolt, it trades with chain lightning. Just kind of, it of course does not trade with forked bolt, but you at least get 2 damage out of that exchange.
Yeah, which is always not bad. So we're gonna get the lightning bolt on the Delver here. I actually don't know how big the Tarmogoyf is right now, but I would imagine it's big enough to survive a lightning bolt.
Creature, instant, land, sorcery.
Yeah, so 4/5, which is
Yeah,
still very, very small.
I mean a 4/5 is is pretty good for this matchup, right? All that you need is
Yeah.
for it to be a 3/4, honestly.
Hmm.
And a brainstorm. We're finally seeing a cantrip out of Champagne.
Yeah, about time. Now you can finally set up the Delver flipping.
Now that it's not relevant anymore. That Delver was what 1 for 8 in terms of hitting blind flips. That was just
I'm
absolutely insane.
probably, yeah.
I gotta say, Champagne showing a really respectable game for doing a multi five that low, right? Like,
Exactly.
wait, what's we're still tanking on the brainstorm.
Yeah, looks like we're deciding on which cards to put back here. Which, to be fair, I'm not terribly surprised about, considering this is the first cantrip Champagne has seen all game. It's probably a lot of stuff he has to think about given what he sees here.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of decisions to make in this one turn.
Yeah. Okay, puts 2 cards back. Plays a fetch land. Ooh. Cast the Ethereal Forager. Okay. So the tanking makes sense now.
That is very good.
Yeah.
We have seen 1 bolt out of Milkman so far,
Yes, one bolt.
and so
So that
there
tropical
is
island's gonna go to exile.
okay. Just getting a Daze and a Bolt underneath there. A Daze, Bolt, and Brainstorm, right?
Yeah. Man, Ethereal Forager really pulling its weight lately out of these Delver lists that have adopted it. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's just a card advantage engine, right? It almost is like this mock Dreadhorde where it goes late in the game, but you develop card advantage off of it attacking. And sure, they can spend a bolt on it, but in theory, it isn't that big of a deal if they just bolt it, right? It's
Yeah,
them spending a 1 mana card on your 2 mana card, and and the resources that you're exiling away, that you're delving away. While in theory, it's bad for your later Ethereal Forager to have those cards gone. Um, it isn't a resource that you typically utilize in this deck, right? I mean,
exactly.
with Tarmogoyf, it can affect it for sure.
Every
Um,
single one of those cards that were delved away, Champagne got use out of. Every single one.
and we're swinging in. There is no bolt and no chain lightning to stop that.
Trigger. Which card do you like here?
Brainstorm.
Yeah, I think that sounds fine actually. Yeah, Brainstorm. Of note, there are no more tropicals, no more green sources in Champagne's deck. So Wastelands are very live there. Oh my goodness, Tarmogoyf number 2. Oof.
So it looks
So
like the days that we did know was there from it being revealed off the Delver is it looks like it got shuffled away with the brainstorm. And is that a force pitch force that we saw?
that is a force pitch, force of negation.
Oh, okay.
Ponder. So that second Tarmogoyf would have been absolutely massive because then Champagne can attack without fear with both of them every turn, and at least one of them will get through and just bounce off the True Name Nemesis.
The onus really right now is on Milkman though. Milkman can't turn the corner, can't start swinging with the True Nemesis. It's just there to essentially block and have the Tarmogoyf bounce off it.
Yeah. Of note here too, Milkman's at 7. If this Ethereal Forager attacks again and just puts a bolt in hand,
Oh, that's
Milkman's
true.
on 1 life.
So
Can't
if another
force,
attack
can't
happens, all
fetch,
fetch lands are bad. Yeah.
and you still have a 3/3 flyer to deal with. Ping 2, it looks like.
Playing out a young pyromancer, possibly. Maybe another petty
Could be.
theft. Another petty theft would be pretty good, actually.
Petty theft on this Ethereal Forger would be not bad for sure. But yeah, I think if you're in Champagne shoes, you 100% go and get the bolt back after this attack.
Yeah, for sure. At this point, the days isn't going to convert much in the late game.
Cast Brainstorm. Draw
Really
3.
explicit draw 3 there. I always love to see this from players when they're playing the Cantrip Cartel, right? Just being very, very explicit. These are the cards that I have that I'm pulling. These are the cards that are going back.
Yeah.
Wasteland on the
Wastelanding
one
the red
bulk.
source. I like doing that pre-combat as well. Just so as that way if the bolt comes in, it's gonna come in before combat. Gets the bolt back to hand. Down to 4. Pass. Brainstorm.
All right, so this fetch land that's off to the side is functionally turned off.
Yep.
Unless there is a way to deal with the bolt coming in at you. Unfortunately, looking at this list, there's no spell pierce as another point of interaction. Really, it's just the dazes and the forces. One force negation would actually be incredibly live, but we saw one put away, so there's only one left in the deck that we are aware of at this point.
Yeah. And then Milkman going Brainstorm, put 2 cards back, Ponder, Shuffle. So Milkman obviously didn't see what he wanted there, but at the same time, it's very hard to find the cards that you want when you are functionally at 1 life.
Now going
Fetches,
down to 3.
bolt in response, and then Milkman just packs it in.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
has
he had a
second bolt in
second
hand
bolt.
too.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
that was quite the game, honestly.
Yeah.
Really interesting the
Excellent
way that
job from Mulda 5.
Absolutely. It was really interesting to see the way that the game redeveloped after we had the Wasteland Stifle Days Force line where Milkman went down on cards to not really have the same card advantage or the same card quantity advantage that he had early in the game. And it was kind of a reset to just see who could kind of draw the threats better, right? Where
Yeah.
Champagne was able to get down the threats quickly, and that Delver never flipped, but it still dealt 6 or 7 damage, right?
Yeah,
And it just got to a point where Milkman just deployed the True Name Nemesis, supposed to be one of the mirror breakers for this, right? Like Milkman's way to go into the long game with this, but
yeah,
it just was never able to attack. It always had to stay back out of fear of the Tarmogoyfs.
yeah. Which, on that note, the Tarmogoyf still technically did its job because of that Trinity Nemesis. If specifically it was any creature other than Trinity Nemesis, those Tarmogoyfs would have just gone to town.
Oh, 100%. There was nothing else that would be able to block them profitably. Let's go
Yeah,
ahead and talk about sideboards. Let's start with Champagne on the left. Champagne has one Caracas, one Grafdigger's Cage, two Pyroblast, one Red Elemental Blast, two Surgical Extraction, one Abrade, one Sylvan Library, one Wilt, two Clothith's God of Destiny, two Submerge, and one Rough Tumble. What are you liking from this sideboard plan?
I really like the Clothis actually. Given the presence of Ethereal Forager specifically in Milkman's deck, I really like the ability to specifically go, I don't want to see that bolt again. Exile it. And just having a slight clock, being able to drain for 2 every time you specifically take problem cards out of your opponent's graveyard, on top of the fact that it is a indestructible, uh it's not really a creature, so to say. It's just an enchantment that sits there, messes a little bit with their graveyard, and then drains life. Or if you need extra mana from it, it is a possibility as well. Both of these decks are very high in fetch lands.
Yeah, absolutely. It is amazing to see how much Clothis affects race math, right? Where every single upkeep, when you're just exiling a card to deal 2 damage and you gain 2 life, it really swings the race in a huge way. At the
Yeah,
same
it's a
time,
four swing.
yeah, I think at the same point we expect the Red Elemental Blast and the Pyroblast to be coming in. Those feel like basically free rolls. There's so many
Yeah,
live targets, whether it's just counter magic, whether it's cantrips, or whether it's the actual threats. There's one threat in this entire deck that you cannot hit with one of the blast effects. But let's jump over to Milkman. Milkman with the blue red version has one Blazing Volley, one Flusterstorm, two Pyroblasts, two Soul Guide Lantern, two Surgical Extraction, two Abrade, one Null Rod, one Price of Progress, one Blood Moon, one Submerge, and again one Rough Tumble. What do you like in here?
I really like Press of Progress. Historically, blue Teamer Delver or Rug Delver specifically does not play basic lands. And I know it's kind of a bit of more of the same in that it's just another burn spell. Uh, Delver is more than capable of just countering it, but I think the potential, like in that particular game, there, Price of Progress would have done 8 damage at the end of it with Champagne on 4 lands.
Yeah, and of course, looking at Champagne's list, there absolutely are no basics. That Price of Progress will be able to convert really well into the late game. At the same time, I do once again the blasts feel really free.
Yeah,
Depending on how you feel, you need to be setting up. There is the possibility of bringing in Flusterstorm here. The kind of the issue is, I think, especially when Milkman goes on the play, Milkman does want to kind of keep the critical mass of cards that are really aggressive and be able to optimize being on the play. So I really like keeping in a lot of the burn spells as your final reach, um, and then also the stifles. I really like keeping in the stifles when I'm on the play in that Delver
yeah.
matchup.
I actually also really like Blood Moon out of Milkman here as well.
Oh,
Just
that's
a
so true.
hard shut off against Rug Delver. And the other thing of note too is I actually like Blood Moon with specifically with Price of Progress. Blood Moon may turn them into basic mountains in terms of what they tap for, but they are still non-basic lands.
That is very, very true. Let's see what these players end up doing, of course. We'll have to see if they agree with us or if they decide to go down a different route when approaching this matchup.
Yeah.
I imagine that Milkman has the play. We, of course, these matches, we may have mentioned this earlier, they're pre recorded actually. And then we come back to it at a later point and we go ahead and we dub over commentary. It's a nice way for us to make sure that we are able to commentate on all the top 8 matches, where previously when we streamed it, we were unfortunately only able to do the top 4. This is a nice way for us to be able to really shine into all the players who are able to make it into the top 8 and give everyone a chance to be on camera, really.
Yeah. And of note, if you would like to play in the league as well, join the MTG Paper Legacy Discord. There will be a link to the Discord in the description of this YouTube video, and you can go use that link to join up with the Discord, and then you can sign up to play in a league all yourself as well. So they set up usually the last Tuesday of a month. The sign up opens with pool play starting on the first Tuesday of the month. So in this case, it will be May 4th, I believe, pool play starts. So you have until the 3rd to sign up. And then you'll need to be broken up into pools, which will all be done for you. And then you'll just need to schedule your round robin matches to play everybody within your pool. And then if you win your pool, you move into the top 16, just like we are at now, or top 8 in this case. But
Man, it's always a fantastic time. I mean, like, I cannot tell you how many times I've been commenting with Brez and had to pay homage to the fact that he was the first person I ever played a league match against. But the leagues are a fantastic way to get into the community. You really get to know the people who are in your pool with you. You start developing relationships. And from there, it's kind of a gateway drug. You just fall down the rabbit hole and into the Discord, into LFG chats, into weekly challenges. We are seeing a bolt come down on this Delver and a days back for protection. Milkman really prioritizing or getting the early threat.
Yeah. Not flipping though.
There, we're sensing a common theme in the Delvers so far this match.
Yeah. This is
Swinging
this
it
is
for
not
one.
Delver's heyday.
I would love to see Milkman get another 6 damage from an unflipped Delver again. Let's see it, baby. I am rooting for this little guy.
Yeah. That said, with a ponder, I don't know how likely that is to happen, but
Why you gotta have the can? Why do you have to have the cantrip
yeah.
Milkman? Why? I'm joking,
Of
of course.
of note, the big thing though, when Oliver's mentioned the cantrip cartel, specifically preordained ponder and brainstorm, those cards add so much consistency to all the blue decks, and that's the big reason why Delver runs so many of them. On top of just being highly efficient cards, is it allows you to look, see, and try and set up a Delver flip very early.
Yeah.
And Champagne having the turn one Delver last game, but not having any cantrips in order to try and get through, really slowed the game plan down.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the other great thing about the cantrip cartel is all of a sudden it makes your sideboard cards so much more meaningful, right? Like
Yeah.
that one of Blood Moon, that one of Submerge, that one of Null Rod, you have such a higher rate of actually getting to them in any given game just because you're going through so many extra cards, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that Delver did not make it, unfortunately. We see the other
No.
bolt coming down.
Yep. And again, if you're in Champagne's spot, you got to be happy that you managed to actually get that second bolt to convert, because spending two of them on the same Delver feels bad. Yeah,
Seeing a
Champagne.
preordained scry both to the bottom, play a wasteland, and take down that tropical island. Once again, paying respect to the threat of Tarmogoyf in this matchup is a mirror breaker.
Yeah. Delver. Pardon me.
I gotta say, as much as I love the old checklist cards, as soon as they created the new checklist cards, the blank ones that they did in this latest Return to Zendikar, where you get to essentially draw your own picture or do whatever you want. Oh my goodness, I threw all my old checklist cards straight in the trash. I just want to write the cards and draw them myself now at this point.
Yeah, definitely not bad. But we do see Champagne getting the polluted Delta there, so not turned off of green mana.
No, unfortunately not. But we'll see what's coming down on the other side.
Yep.
Milkman going ahead and brainstorming.
Naked
Oh,
Brainstorm. Uh-oh.
fetch
Naked
and response.
Brainstorm. This is bad. This could potentially just be a play around Stifle
Yeah, that's
while
very true.
Milkman is tapped out.
I suppose I'm still so used to Spell Pierce being in all of these lists that I see that and I'm just like, oh, Spell Pierce on this brainstorm. Nope, not at all.
Yeah, Spell Pierce is another card I still think is extremely good. Ooh,
And
Brainstorm in
brainstorming back.
response. Champagne gonna flip a Delver? Oh my goodness.
Or just daze this brainstorm, actually. I would love to hit this brainstorm from
Yeah.
Milkman right now if I was on
I
Champagne's side
think
of the table.
I think if Champagne manages to hit this Brainstorm with the days, you gotta be more than happy about that.
Oh, it'd be so fantastic.
Nope, resolves.
Okay, well.
Well, at least there's more than likely a Delver coming across next turn, so
And I wonder if I think Champagne might still be tanking. I don't think we actually put the two back quite yet.
I believe we did, because as soon as they went down, Champagne said resolve, the Milkman's already drawn the cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed Milkman drawing that there. I guess we were waiting on Milkman to put them back. Seeing
Yeah.
a fetch land for the perfect brainstorm. And Milkmine finally going down life. We we had the first shot.
Yep. There we go. First damage down.
Yeah.
Then again, at the same time, the blue red Delver, speaking about the rock solid mana base, like for real though, it's really good.
I mean, it's just amazing to be able to go as deep on basics as you're able to, and
Yeah.
it hasn't come up as much in this matchup as it can.
Yeah.
That Champagne was actually able to convert the one wasteland that we saw in the previous game. We of course haven't seen any in this one, but being able to just go with the basics plan and then be able to like slam blood moons or just avoid the wasteland temple plays when you have Champagne on the play
Oh.
and Colossus comes down. This needs to be answered right now from Milkman if he's able to. I
Yeah.
mean, this
I
is an
was
immediate force target.
I was just gonna say, actually, that this wasteland on this volcanic island is really bad because it'll turn off blue mana. for Milkman,
Yeah.
but slamming down a Colossus is also absolutely horrendous. Outside of Brazen Borrower, there is no answer to this card.
And so, of course, we'll just remind everybody what this card does because it can get confusing at times. It is never going to get turned on. We don't need to worry about the actual animation mechanic. But at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a land, add red or green mana to your mana pool. Otherwise, you gain 2 life, and Colossus deals 2 damage to each opponent. So if you exile anything besides a land, you have that sulfuric vortex effect of dealing 2 damage, but then also having that life swing by gaining your life yourself. And really,
Yeah,
this is just an insane card in every single combat race.
yeah, exactly. Because that's just it too. Is that right now Milkman's at 19, Champagne's at 17, and as of next turn, if Champagne wants to hit a spell, that's going to flip around.
Oh yeah.
And other thing of note there too, I just want to be very specific here. Clothis could become a creature if you have exactly Bone Crusher Giant and all four of your Tarmogoyfs.
I suppose it is possible. That's right. I'm so sorry. I said it
It's
wasn't going to come
technically
up.
possible.
I was wrong. Skewer me, everybody. Skewer me.
I totally don't fault you for that. Interesting that he's going to wasteland the trop there rather than wastelanding the wasteland. Because if I was in Milkman's position, I would be super worried about getting my blue sources turned off. Whereas that in this case right here, Champagne can actually exile lands to make green mana.
Yeah, I suppose this is just out of respect of staying consistent. There's now only a single trop left in the deck because the previous wasteland was spent on a trop as well.
Yeah,
And it's just trying to stymie the potential of slamming down a Tarmogoyf, right?
yeah.
Of course, at this point, any sort of color denial plan feels a lot worse when the Clothis, you get to draw your card and decide what you're doing, right? Clothis isn't an upkeep trigger. Um, so you're able to draw your card, go, oh, I drew a Tarmogoyf. I need a green source. Let's exile that land to make a green.
Yeah, and we can already see their Champagne and Milkman switching places in terms of life total.
Ooh, those pretty ponders. I do love me these time spell remastered ponders.
They're pretty nice.
Keeping it there, drawing a card. Let's see if
And
we
it
have a
looks like it's
land drop
passed
return.
back.
Okay.
Yep.
And there we go.
Fetch land, go get basic island this time.
I would imagine so. I actually
Yeah.
I actually really like that Wasteland, the tropical island play, if you already had that fetch land in hand.
Yes, I
You
do
run the
agree.
risk of being blown out by a stifle from Champagne. Over Champagne's on the draw, I wouldn't be surprised if one or two stifles came out as a result of that. Otherwise, there's also the potential of dazes or some amount of force is being trimmed as well. But
Hmm.
being able to basically just kind of try to reset the mana bases, try to get rid of Champagne's advantage that he has by getting him to also spend his own wasteland. Um, and we
Can we
see
also
the
just
days.
talk about converting this days on like turn 6?
Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful part of Wasteland with Dazes, right? Like Dazes get
Yeah.
so much better in a deck that you have 4 Wastelands, and even better when your opponent has Wastelands that they're spending on you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're downing yourself on land so hard, it's very very difficult. And Days is such a hard card to play and play around because I've had it happen multiple times where I just like I play Painter if it wasn't obvious, and I I've had it happen many times where I go Mountain Ancient Tomb and I cast a Goblin Engineer or some other form of a 2 drop, and then they're like days, and I'm like, cool, pay for it with the one floating from Ancient Tomb. Um, uh, um,
Well, that's just a bluff right there. That's amazing. I
well,
would
I
not
actually
lie.
even
As
say
a
float
as a
3.
player of Days, I have definitely done that myself. Of going, oh, the lands are tapped, and you have a spell on this deck. Let me cast this Days right now.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's just it.
Ancient
Is I'll
Tomb.
even be tap Ancient Tomb, take 2 damage. Everyone knows Ancient Tomb makes 2 mana. Cast a 2 drop.
It doesn't matter. We have these mental metrics. For me, it's the lands are tapped. I can go ahead and spend this
Exactly.
Days.
Yeah. Champagne of note, not fetching up another tropical island here. Probably going to save that for when he actually needs it.
Makes
Doesn't want to
sense.
get wastelanded off of the last trop.
And are we seeing the whale?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and this card has just been so impressive in general. Like, you need to remove it on the spot or you just die in terms of card advantage. That isn't a blind draw that you're getting. You're drawing a relevant spell of your choosing.
Yeah. Yeah, Ethereal Forager's been just an absolute house.
I need to buy Ethereal Foragers, don't I? Oh, no. No, whatever. There's worse things in the world.
Delver doesn't flip still.
I wanna go back. I'm actually gonna go we're just when it goes on YouTube, I'm gonna speed watch through all this, and I just wanna count how many Delver misses there are compared to Delver hits.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So
Oh,
Milkman goes to bolt the Ethereal Forager. Champagne forces back,
yeah, and
and
at that
Milkman
point, it's
just
just
scoops it up.
I mean,
He's had enough. There's gonna be this Ethereal Forager is gonna attack for 3. There's 2 bolts under it. Gets them both back on top of just getting slowly killed by this Clothis.
that's just it. As soon as the Clothis hits the board, Milkman honestly has the onus on him to be able to start pressuring aggressively. You have your Delver not flipping, and you have your opponent who's also just closing it even more so, where that's a two-turn clock at that point where
Yeah.
I can respect scooping it up and not just sitting there miserably for sure. This is
Yeah.
a fantastic match to watch. Of note, Champagne is keeping the dream alive. If Champagne can keep going all the way and get all these wins, Champagne's going to lock up the third seat for our upcoming invitational, which is quite exciting. I'm not going to lie. Big congrats to Milkman. Again, Milkman absolutely tore it up in our pool. Milkman then beat the round of 16 to get here for this match. So, really impressive showing by Milkman to get here. And big congrats to you, sir. Prez, you got anything to say to the people before we get out of here?
No, other than make sure to swing by the Discord if you would like to play some Magic yourself. It's a great time. Would highly advise anyone to come do it if you have any interest in playing specifically Legacy or whatever else. There's games firing all the time, and come join in one of the leagues. It's a fantastic way to get started playing.
That it is. For all of us here at the MTG Paper Legacy Discord, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. If you want to check out the rest of this top 8, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, smash that bell icon, as you like to say, and let us be your local meta.
Have a good one.